asset reconstruction companies. We'll be understanding the entire concept of asset reconstruction companies. We'll see why it is presently in news. Also, why was the need to constitute this asset reconstruction companies, and what are these? What do they actually do? What are their functions? What are the challenges they are facing, and how those challenges can be overcome? All those things, everything about the asset reconstruction company we'll be understanding today, which will be beneficial for your prelims as well as mains examination. So first things first, why is this asset reconstruction company in news? It is in news because RBI, that is the Reserve Bank of India, the Central Bank of India, has raised supervisory concerns regarding the functioning of the asset reconstruction company. Supervisory concerns as in there are certain things which are, let's say, skipping the ambit of supervision, and there are certain issues and challenges which these companies are facing, and a stricter supervision is sort of required, is what the RBI thinks or understands basically. Okay, that is the reason why it is in news. Now comes the question, what are these asset reconstruction companies? So before going into the definition of what are these, let us understand why did they originate in the first place. So the thing is, whenever you start a business, you can start a business by taking loan, right? The loans can be taken for various other things as well, plus for your own companies you can take loans. So what happens? You take a loan. Now the thing is, when you take a loan, of course you have to repay it. You repay it via the EMIs. Now EMI consists of two parts. One part is the principal amount, and the other part is the interest amount. Now principal amount and interest amount both together are present in the EMIs, equated monthly installments, right? Now what happens when we skip the EMI? If the EMI is skipped, when the EMI is skipped, you are skipping the principal plus interest both, right? So if this EMI is skipped, meaning when neither principal nor interest is paid, neither principal nor interest is paid, that means the entire EMI is skipped for how long? For 90 days. For 90 days meaning basically you have skipped 3 months of EMIs. So if neither principal nor interest is paid for 90 days, the loan is basically an asset for the bank. Why is it an asset? What is an asset? An asset is a thing which generates revenue for you. Okay, so if I have a flat, it can be an asset. It is an asset and I can generate revenue from it by giving it on rent. Whether I give it on rent or not is another thing, but yes, it can generate, it has a potential to generate revenue, that is your asset. So loan has a potential to generate revenue. If the bank gives you 1 crore rupees of loan for 10 years, every year it is getting principal plus interest back. So this interest, the interest which is there, it is nothing but the revenue that is being generated for the bank by this loan. So it is an asset. But if on this asset, if on this loan neither principal nor interest is paid for 90 days or 90 days, then it becomes an NPA. NPA meaning non-performing asset. Non-performing asset. The asset, how is the performance of the asset judged? By its ability to generate revenue. If it is not generating revenue because no principal or interest is being paid, it becomes a non-performing asset. Now it has become a non-performing asset, EMIs are not coming, maybe possible, there are two possibilities. Maybe that money is being used for something else and people are enjoying and not paying back, or there can be genuine reason as in, see, you have a company. So when you have a company, it may not work, it may not generate profit. So when there is no profit, you may not be able to pay the loan. So there can be genuine reasons as well. So when that kind of thing happens, what do you do? You cannot force someone to pay the money when they don't even have the money, right? So then comes your asset reconstruction companies. right? And what are their functions? They would try to reconstruct the loan. For example, if your monthly installment was 10 lakh rupees for a business firm, for a factory, the monthly installment was, let's say, 10 lakh rupees, but your profit itself is not coming to be 10 lakhs. So how will you pay this? You know, other expenses are also there. You are not generating this much of profit. Maybe you can pay 5 lakh rupees. But since your EMI is of 10 lakh, nothing is getting deducted and your EMI is not getting deducted and you are defaulting. So the asset reconstruction company would try to see, can this loan be reconstructed? For example, if it is a loan of X amount for 10 years with an EMI of Y equivalent, Y is the EMI. So can this loan be converted instead to a 20-year loan and the EMI reduced to, let's say, 0.6Y? Okay, so when the EMI is reduced to 0.6Y, now you may be able to probably pay it. So these kind of reconstruction of the loan may take place by the asset reconstruction company. Even if that is not possible and there are too many losses, not a single amount of profit, and there is no money also left with the business. So then what the asset reconstruction company can do is liquidate the asset. Liquidate the asset as in sell the asset and get the money. Now, why asset reconstruction company is doing that and not banks? That is because that's not the expertise of the bank. The expertise of the bank is to give the loan and make money from the loan. Their expertise is not selling the assets, right? Finding buyer to sell the assets. So for that purpose, asset reconstruction companies are made. Now the question is that, sir, here also people and mechanism and everything is required. In banks also, if it is there, it would be required. But the thing is, if you create individually for each bank such kind of a department, then each bank may, let's say, for example, require 10 people to manage this. Now, if you have, let's say, 100 banks, so you will need 1000 people to manage this. Instead, you can have, you know, let's say, for example, one NARCL or IDL, whatever it is. Just for example, let's take an example, an asset reconstruction company. So this asset reconstruction company can cater to 20, 30, 40, 50 banks at once, right? Having 100 employees, for example, and let's say catering to 50 banks, for example. So what will happen? There would be economy of scales. Economy of scales and more efficient way of doing it, and there would be experts who would be doing it. So that is the concept of the reason for origination of ARC, that is asset reconstruction company, the concept of it as well as the functions of it. I hope that is clear. Now let's look at the theoretical definition and stuff. ARCs are financial institutions. Of course, they are financial institutions. At times they are called as bad banks interchangeably, but they are not banks in general because they don't provide loans and all. Okay. Financial institutions, they buy the non-performing assets or bad assets from banks and financial institutions. So when they are selling the assets, before selling the assets, why they are selling? Because there is already an NPA. So these NPA, they buy it from the bank at a particular cost and then sell that asset and try to recover the amount for which they have bought that particular NPA. Okay. Now this will help the banks to clean up their balance sheet, to clean up their books, because earlier it would show that 15% NPAs are there. When high NPAs are there, that is a problem for the banks because so much of the loans, 15% of the loans are not making money for them. So when they sell off this NPAs to the ARC, it will decrease. Let's say it becomes 10%. So that will improve the health. Now they are incorporated under the Companies Act, registered with the Reserve Bank of India under the SARFAESI Act. What is SARFAESI Act? Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interest. That is the SARFAESI Act. So incorporated under the Companies Act, registered with the RBI under the SARFAESI Act. Very important facts for your prelims. Now examples of asset reconstruction company: National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited, NARCL. Established by banks, of course, banks coming together and establishing this particular thing, right? Now, it's majority owned by public sector banks. PSBs are owning this with 51% stake. These are certain facts to remember. There is another one, India Debt Resolution Company Limited, another entity that will attempt to sell the stress assets, basically another asset reconstruction company. Now PSBs and public financial institutes will hold a maximum of 49. Here the private sector, here if you will see, the remaining 51%, that is the majority of the stake, is held by the private sector. So remember the differentiation between NARCL and IDRCL. Now let us look at the functioning or the working of the asset reconstruction company. So there is this bank. This bank is having an NPA. The bank sells the NPA to the asset reconstruction company. Sells it, okay, remember, sells it. So there is some amount that the asset reconstruction company is going to pay the bank. Let's say the NPA is, let's say, a loan of, let's say, 500 crores. So this 500 crore worth of loan need not necessarily, as an NPA, would not be necessarily bought at 500 crores by the ARC. They may buy it at, let's say, 450, 460 crores, whatever they think that can be got out by either reconstruction or by, let's say, selling of assets. So they do that. So they buy it. So once they buy it, they give the bank the cash or the receipts, right? Now, these NARCL and IDRCL, what they do is they recover the NPA through the debt restructuring or sale of asset. They may lower the interest rate, so the amount that you can recover may get lower, or they will directly sell it off, right? They would sell it off. Why would they lower the interest rate? Because they may understand that genuinely the company is not able to pay. So why to burden them? Let's try to get as much out as possible. So either they will restructure or sell the assets and get some money. Now when they get some money, they have bought this, they have given some cash and security receipts. Now let's say when they recover, they have recovered lesser amount than what they are giving the bank. So the difference which is there, that difference is paid by the government. Remember this, if recovery lower than the security receipt amount, government to provide the shortfall. So if the NPAs were bought at 500 crores, but the recovery was only 450 crores, then the 50 crores is going to be paid by the government. Okay, and this, when I'm saying 450 crores is recovered, this is after adjusting for the management, deducting the management fees, after adjusting for the management fees, because they would require a lot of money also, management, workforce, all that, to recover that money. So let's say total recovered was 451 crore, but 1 crore was there for management and all that. So 450 crore is actually what is net recovered. The difference will be provided by the government. Now what are the challenges? Several challenges like backdoor entry, a lot of NPAs which are very difficult to recover may be added. Defaulting promoters now, it is like, okay, you can sell it off or you can reconstruct. So any and every time of promoter would then want, okay, let me get out of this business, let them sell it off, I will get, I don't have to pay this much of loan, so on and so forth. Lengthy settlement process, it is not that easy, it takes a lot of time. It is absolutely clear, and non-transparent practices are also there. Non-transparent because see, you are trying to recover as much as possible, right? Anything that you recover is sort of a benefit, because earlier that was not there, it was not being recovered. So a lot of non-transparent out of the box practices can also happen, right? Now, there are certain directions that the RBI has given, direction which stipulates to maintain a minimum capital requirement of rupees 300 crore. So, ARC has to maintain this minimum capital requirement, and this the deadline for them is 31st March 2026. Now, non-compliance, since RBI is, let's say, understanding that there are certain supervision issue, so RBI has clearly told that if there are certain non-compliances with the RBI, right? So, sorry, with the RBI I'm saying, with the ARC, they need to ensure that all these compliances are made. So there are certain directions that the RBI has given. One is to keep 300 crore rupees as a or maintain it as a minimum capital requirement with existing ARCs. They are given the timeline up to 31st March 2022. Also, they are asked to adhere to the directions that are given, and they should not be non-compliant. Okay, if they are non-compliant, they will face various supervisory actions. Those supervisory actions could be stricter regulations. Now, these ARC with a minimum capital of 300 crores would also have some amount of net owned funds. Banks have formed it, a net owned fund would be there. So with a minimum net owned fund of 1000 crore, they can act as resolution applicants and permitted to invest. These funds which are there, they cannot invest anywhere and everywhere. Wherever RBI permits them to, they can invest only there. So they are permitted to invest in specified instruments subject to certain conditions and caps on investment. So only in certain specified approved places they can invest. That too, there would be certain conditions and certain caps, meaning certain limitation of the amount that they can invest in those places. All right. So this is the entire concept of asset reconstruction company. Remember certain facts which I talked about, and for mains understand what they do, how they do, and what positive impact they can have. Thank you.